Hey guys, I have Man248 here with another episode of As Per the Mutations, the 47th level of Ultimate Tip 4. In this third episode of analyzing this one level, we are going to look at the story of why I came up with it and how it's busted. Just kidding, I'm going to start by playing through this level the intended way. This is just another episode of Ultimate Tip 4, and this is just a level I built because, hey, 4x4 permutations, that's actually pretty cool, right? Well, it kind of is, and it kind of isn't, because you follow one path. Find the flippers. And I couldn't use a green key, so I used buttons for the fourth. I remember I ran into trouble with that when I was originally trying to build this level. So the thing is, as I mentioned in the intro to this, the level is busted. It's pretty badly busted at that. I forget who brought it to my attention, but I did try fixing it at one point, and that only broke it worse. So, oops. So as I was building this, I actually kept a little, almost cheat sheet in the corner of the permutations I hadn't used. Obviously, the level is the level title is a play on permutations. So, after you get through all of them, or through all of the side things, like all the combinations, then you just get the chips and exit. So I like the level. It's busted. Here's the bust. Feel free to copy the bold solution if you want to. Like right here is why it's busted. You can just steal a key from the ice section. And you could actually steal a key from the other ice section if you want. But you only need that one in order to get to the, the green key early. So, oops. Still, it's a decent level. Next up is Glider Hideaway, which I think is a level that doesn't really have much need to exist, honestly. I don't regret making it. After all, it is a dodging level with a pretty neat aesthetic to it. You'll notice that there are some areas outside of the play area that you can never get to, just to make the level look bigger than it is. That's something I was really fond of doing at the time I was building this set. I still am, to a certain extent, to be honest. It's a really cool thing to look like the level breaks out beyond the normal play area. And obviously, if you dedicate space for that, you're not dedicating space to filling the entire map. And that's almost always a plus, because though some levels do work better filling the entire map, there are a lot that don't. It's a neat little glider crossing. I think I haven't missed anything. This is the second time I'm trying to record this episode. The first one I got interrupted pretty early on, so rather than try to cut it short, I just, went for it. I just went for a re-recording. So that's Glider Hideaway. So Blob Voyage 2, A Slimy Downfall, is, for one, a really cool title. And for another, it's a spiritual sequel to a level from the first set I released on the internet with more than one level in it. It is 25 levels dot dot, which, Blob level. There's a bunch of little homages to it, mostly right there. So let's steal the keys and get past these other blobs. And then over here we have a blob on ice, because that was totally necessary. Okay, and then this part, which I think is neat, there's the path of sockets, but the path of sockets is not the best way to move around. And then you just have to wait for a blob here to go blow up a bomb. And that's Blob Voyage 2. I like that level. I think it's a really good blob level because it does different stuff. But I could see that not being agreed on. So this is Mysterious Island Temple. As I mentioned back at level 40, for some reason I went for temple theme. So this one's in a bad state of repair so you can break through some of the walls. Oh no. I'm trying to remember exactly how to do this part. It's been a little bit. So I have a working bug cloner, because that's a big deal. Think I'll clone a couple more. Okay, one more ought to do it. There was at one point a pretty big bust in this level. I don't remember if it stayed in the level or not. I think it did. No, I fixed it. Where you could just bridge to the exit early. Obviously, I didn't want you bridging to the exit early. So I'm pretty sure you can't do that now. I mean, how many blocks would it take? It would take 5 blocks now. I've got 1, 2, and then this one I think I have access to. Okay, I'm gonna do this with the bug. Because I know I don't need those 2 blocks for anything else. So I can save up another block if I really wanted to go for this. Oh, I'm stupid. There's gravel there. Okay. um, so the other big thing is this glider stream that goes around the entire level. They're actually what's cloning fireballs, I think. Again, it's been a while since I've built this, so I'm not 100% sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Oops. That's a cook.
Bummer. Bummer.
That was really dumb. I should have known better. So yeah, if you caught what the hint said, there's suction boots under the center.
Bummer.
I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. Under the center block of that arrangement of 3. And I really need to stop cutting myself off while playing and just freezing. That is something I need to work on, just continuing to talk as I'm trying to formulate my next sentence. As I'm playing the game. I can usually do it decently well if I'm doing a run of something. But outside of that context, where I'm already very, very familiar with what I'm playing, I have trouble keeping that conversational, just talking going. In some ways, a stream makes it easier because then there's just an actual conversation that can be had with people than just recording to talk to people who are going to watch a video later and have no way of responding in real time at all. But at the same time, streams don't always help because then sometimes something happens in the game and I cut myself off anyway. So this fourth floor section looks scary, but I made it so that there are no overrides required until this part. And then that part just works. So I'm trying to remember what I do with this part. I'm pretty sure there's a chip under each block, because that's the kind of thing I would do. Okay, there's a yellow key under one of them. Of course there is. And then I have access to this part, which is just weird. I want to say this part was designed as a bit of a, I don't optimize, screw people who do, this is going to be brutal. A while later, oh wait, oops, I do actually optimize. Do I I go back? I think I go back through here. Yep. Oh yeah, there used to be another bust where you could just take a block up that path, so that's why the force floor guarding the exit is there. So, Mysterious Island Temple is a fun level. Off to Uncanny Crusher, which is named after a level from Frogger He's Back. I say don't question it. I made a blockbuster section. Ooh. Basically, SSBM stuff have been doing Frogger runs lately, and it's like, hey, there's some cool level titles there. I can totally use one or a few of those. Nope. And so Uncanny Crusher is just, hey, you can't get through those blocks. Oh wait, those balls to get to the exit. Oh wait, you can with a block. As well as just a bunch of other random stuff. It's a weird level. So next up is a level that did make it into CCLP4, and I'm very happy with the concept. Little less so with the design, honestly. This is Big Boulder Alley, named after another level of Frogger He's Back. And I don't know how I came up with the idea, but it's basically a level based around blocking off clone machines, just so you can gain access to more of the level. Like, and that's all it is. On the surface, you can't do much with that concept, but I feel like what I did do with a couple of these sections, mostly the left part over here, of just taking one block and using it for different things. Now, this level actually, in its original form, had, let me think, I think it was 2 or 3 different busts. So if you saw the north thin wall that I pushed a block onto earlier, that's a really ugly fix. But that actually is required to fix a bust. There was another bust where you could just not block this part off, and you just bridge over here. But now you need that clone machine blocked off, and you do need that green key elsewhere, so you can't skip up here either. Yeah, it shows that when I went for this build, it took me a little bit. It shows that I've played this level a fair amount of times. As I said, it's in CCLP4. The bold on the version in CCLP4 is actually 1 second higher than the version in this set. So if you can figure out why, that's cool. If not, well, enjoy your 396. There's a 394 route that doesn't take that shortcut, but that's literally the only difference between 396 and 394, that shortcut at the end, and that's a pretty obvious shortcut. Well, I think so anyway. The intended method there is to take the top block and push the top block over to block the stream and then fill in the water, but I like that shortcut. It only works in MS and I like it. So this is Sandbox. This was originally made for a class project game in Dragonfly, which is a sort of ASCII engine that we had to code ourselves. It was weird. And so my group, which was me and one other person, made essentially a block pushing game. And if we put in a couple of mechanics, we put in water, we put in dirt, we put in blocks, we put in switches where if they're all held down, other doors open. You'll be seeing another level from that game later on in this set. So I built all the levels for it. I built them pretty fast, actually, and over the course of about a day, I banged out about 20 levels, which gave us more content than anyone else. And yeah, Sandbox is a pretty simple level, but it works well in the in that style, where you're just trying to find a way through. I've got a soft spot for that kind of level, honestly. So this is Dwarven Keep, and I'm an idiot. So the thing about Dwarven Keep is for this level, I actually started by just scribbling walls everywhere and then just build something in them. This was before walls of levels were really a thing that people did. So the fact that I did that and then just stuck to those walls, very, very few edits. Oops, I missed all of those chips. It's probably a cool time saver there, actually. So let's get that green key. Yeah, green key. That's what that was, right? I think I still need one more blue. Yeah. So this is the treasure room in question. This is something I don't really see done. Not the idea of a chip vault, but a chip vault that you only had so long to clear out before Blob's clone, or something else clones, making it unattainable otherwise. I think it's a cool idea. It probably could be done a little better, but I don't think it's done badly there. The timing is lenient enough that I need a yellow key. That, you know, it just works. You go in, you pick it up, you don't need any specific route or pre-planning. You just get it. Now, I know that's not always the case. As I say that, I'm thinking of, what is it? Diamond from, I think, ZK4? I think it was ZK4. Where you do have to be very precise. I think to the move, maybe one move of buffer. And that's a little excessive, if you ask me. So hit the toggle button. I was a little paranoid about losing my boots there. But with the toggle pressed and the tank switched, I can go in here. And do that. Just blow up that bomb. Dodge these paramecia, which is pretty neat, actually. Again, just one of those things stemming from the shape of the level. Nowadays, I don't think I'd build it in that irregular shape. And I know Josh has been going through and remarking on stuff he wishes he still did in design. And I definitely fall into the trap of trying to make things too squared off, too rectangular, too patterned. Or sometimes with chip placements, too anti-patterned. Sometimes both of these can be good, but I definitely need to take a few more steps towards irregular room shapes. Because irregular room shapes can be a lot of fun. And speaking of patterns, here's Icy Wasteland. If I remember right, most of the chips in this level just kind of fall. They aren't at all problematic to pick up. Let's get that one. And go... No, I already picked up that one. Oh, yes, these corner chips, I remember, are problematic to pick up if you don't specifically target them. I mean, it's a nice level. There's nothing really to say. This is one of those things that it's it's a level. In a way, I do kind of regret not making more of these. Aw. There is a secret hint somewhere out there if you slide at the right part, but I'm not going to be replaying the level to find it. I don't think that's worth it. So here's Bisection, which... This is one of those levels in that that averts the trend that Josh is very fond of pointing out, of expecting to beat levels on the first try. And Josh is probably not going to be terribly happy with me for saying this, but I do regret that opening section. I wish I'd started you with the suction boots. Anyway, this level is also in CCLP4, so that's something. And the gimmick is, I just wanted to make a level where all the walls were just in the, they're walls, right? But they're not walls, they're force floors, which means you can go through them. And I just wanted to play around with that. And it felt like this was the way to do it. Okay, that gives me a path. Does it give me a path? So I haven't actually optimized this in CCLP4 yet. And I screwed it up! I'm an idiot! Oh my god. But my route here in this set is actually pretty good. It's 1 second off what JB reported, which for a level with an execution requirement as heavy as this, there are a lot of mouse clicks in this route. Every single block is a mouse click. So we come over here and gonna rebuild the same path. I like this level. Like, I really like this level, and I'm glad that others liked it enough to include it in CCLP4. Because I think as far as ideas go, this is one of the more unique ones for a maze. Like, I've never played anything else quite like this. For better or worse, really. Like, you can argue that this concept is stupid. I don't agree. Obviously, I built it. Except it's not quite that obvious. I've built levels with concepts I actually hate in hindsight. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but they do exist. And I'm pretty sure that I hit a hint up here. I could be wrong. But this is one of those cases where you can just go outside the level and do whatever. So, just taking a victory lap of the pool. I guess I didn't put a hint outside this level. That kind of feels like a wasted opportunity. Maybe I did in a past version and I removed it. Oh, this level. As soon as I said a concept I regret making. So this is Dumping Grounds. This level was 100% inspired
Bummer.
by Tyler's Weird series. And wasn't that TCCLP rejects? They were rejected for a reason. Alright, let's go drown this teeth. Let's grab this one too. So I am a little concerned with that upper teeth. Just a little concerned. I think there's stuff hidden under blocks. Yeah, there's tips under blocks. Yeah, like, I don't like this level at all anymore. For what I hope is a pretty obvious reason. So there is an invisible wall here. Sorry, that's a hidden wall. That one's invisible. So where did I miss 2 chips? Did I push both of these blocks? Yeah. Did I push this block yet? Yep. That one. That one. Okay. So that's Dumping Grounds. The fact that one of the teeth gets stuck is actually really stupid, and I regret doing that. So this here is Damascus Steel. This is just to find the exit maze with an interesting aesthetic. I like it. I wish I could have gone just a step further with it and put water everywhere I didn't want you to go rather than having to use gliders, or just gliders everywhere I didn't want you to go rather than having to use some water. Like, both of those were inherent limitations of Chip's challenge. So I ran out of monsters on the monster list when I did it with water. And when I didn't use water, I found that I couldn't put water on top of the thin walls, so I'd lose the pattern. So I had to choose one or the other, or picking both. And picking both is what I did. This is Glacial Palace. This is actually also in CCLP4. That's a pretty early level. I'm not completely sure how I feel about that, actually. It's an interesting one, to say the least. Like, this is another one of those levels where I actually built a template of I want the level to look like this roughly, and then built the level inside that. And it works for the aesthetics, but the gameplay, this is basically the whole level. There's nothing really here. Now, I have nothing against a nice, fun, simple level, but I do think Glacial Palace and a lot of levels in Ultimate Chip 4 so far have erred too far on the simple side. Now, I do know, obviously, I built this, I've played it several times before, that the difficulty does ramp up, and the length has been ramping up. And oh my gosh, this is Coral Reef. This is also in CCLP4, because stuff hidden, like, block on water is such an underused tile combo. Yeah, I am amazed right now that this video has basically been almost CCLP4 light. So what I did with this pattern was actually I just built random patterns and tested them until the solution worked. Originally, I actually did require you to try to build a path vertically, but then I decided, no, why would I do that? That's stupid. And that part apparently requires most of the mouse clicks. So that's fun. So yeah, don't mind me, just playing Coral Reef. This room's really lenient, which I like, given how late it comes. And then the one thing I wish I didn't do in this level is include this dodging section at the end. Now, it's really cool thematically. I love the aesthetic it gives. I just don't like that it creates a dodging section at the end. In hindsight, this was not the smartest thing to include. Just a maze alone probably would have been enough. Like, kept that Coral Reef feel. Okay, so I know there's a glider on this path. I'm gonna wait for it. And I was very careful when assembling this part to make sure that the gliders existed. Like, they wouldn't collide with each other, they'd all loop nicely. Just very careful, and that did affect the aesthetic, and I think it affected it in a good way. I do really like how it looks, I just don't necessarily like how it plays. So this is Field of Dreams. This is the, quote, obligatory walker level. It's bad. Like, this is all there is to it. You run around, you pick up chips. This should not be in the set. Alright. Whoa! Ah. Now, I am not very good at this kind of level. I will freely admit that. If I beat this on the first attempt, I will be quite happy. Alright, there's 2 more of these blobs left. I think this was mostly inspired by Nice Day, which I don't think is that good of an inspiration for a level. So I think I'll play Kinematic Construction, and then that will be it for this video. Made some more good progress. So as much as I complain about mazes and such sometimes, I think this is a really cool one. I think it's really cool with the thin wall maze and then the stuff in the corners. And I really like the outside. Like, I spent probably more time building the outside section as I did on the inside. Just to make sure all the monsters were merging correctly and adjusting paths so that it all worked. Like, look at this part down here. There is a circling paramecia to counterbalance the bug paths. Is this not really, really cool looking, or what? Anyway, the actual level itself is fairly average, just because it's just a thin wall maze with some teleports. Now, the teleports do go a long way towards adding value to the level, because otherwise it would just be a thin wall maze. And we've all played those a million times over. Like, Scavenger Hunt is a thin wall maze. And you don't see anybody lining up to be like, yes, Scavenger Hunt, that's my favorite level. And honestly, as much as I like Entangled Path from earlier in this set, it is a better thin wall maze than this. It is just a better thin wall maze. That didn't do too well in CCLP4 voting. This level I'm playing now didn't even make it into voting. Which I do think is a little bit of a shame. It's because it is a very aesthetically pleasing level. I mean, look at this. You've even got a little element corner at the end. Poke fun at me for that. It deserves it. Okay, I can't stop now. This is the other level that I mentioned. This is the legendary block. This is the other level from that game. So this was the big finale level in that game. You basically went through and just eventually retrieved one block from the end of the level and took that block back through the entire rest of the level. So this is the part where you get to compare this to Warehouse 2 in terms of block loops. Now, if anybody knows me, and I'm pretty sure 90% of people watching this video know me at least decently well, then you know that I detest the amount of block loops Warehouse 2 makes you do. It ruins a perfectly good shuffling puzzle, just because the penalty for failure is so high at that point. I'm trying to remember what to do here. This block is only good for down there. This frees up one block. Okay. So essentially what I dislike about Warehouse 2 is not so much that it makes you do block loops, but that it makes you do block loops with so many blocks. That is my issue with it. That you have to take 7 blocks through that whole minute-plus long stretch. And there's no way to avoid having to do that. Plus, you have to do part of the other puzzle, and then you have to do 2 shuffling puzzles after that 7-8 minutes of just looping blocks. As you can tell from the bold time, which I do have on this level, that's not the case here. There's maybe a minute of looping, and it's 1 block, and it's retreading ground. And to me, that's a pretty fundamental difference, and originally made for a game I built for a class project. Yeah. Shoutouts to Raphael Angelo. If he ever sees this, you were a great help with some of the stuff for this. So this is the maze section we were in earlier. And this is the part that I really, really like about this. And I'm an idiot because I looped that the wrong way. But this is the part that I really like about this level. Just that you go through this maze on the way to the block, and then you take the block back through the maze. Now, that sounds a little contradictory, seeing as I just went on a bit of a tirade about block loops. But if you also know me, you'll know that I am a sucker for retreading a prior area of the level with a different purpose in mind. So dual purpose design. This is a maze, and now it's a block corridor. 2 purposes. So this level itself isn't in CCLP4, but a level I built later that uses its walls, Wretched Hive of Scum and Villainy, is. So this set definitely spawned a lot of really good stuff. It also spawned some pretty okay stuff. And as you can see, just go back through here with the block, everything is built with 2 purposes in mind. Everything. That is the legendary block. I really want to play this level now, but I will save it for the next video. This is error code 512, initialization failure. Of all the levels in this set, I think this is the one I'm most disappointed to not see do well in voting. Nobody seemed to like it, and I don't know why. But anyway, this video has gone on long enough. So until next time, later.